The economics of men's and women's professional sports is weird. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And today we're going to talk about the men's and women's professional sports leagues. We're going to rephrase that sentence. We're talking about professional sports leagues for both men and women. We're not getting into the criteria of who joins which league. We're just going to stick with the fact that they are both currently called men's and women's professional sports leagues. Now, we'll start with the men's. As we all know, men's professional athletes are highly paid individuals. Professional athletes, mind you, at that level. And actually really only certain sports. Now, granted, you make a lot of money in hockey, but it's nothing compared to the money you make in football. And football players would murder each other for the chance at the fully guaranteed contracts the NBA has. Those are contracts regularly in the nine figures being hundreds of millions of dollars. So the question becomes, what in the world justifies that price tag? That's a lot of money. There's a couple things playing into it. And we're only starting with the men's leagues. We'll get to the women's leagues in a minute, so all of you calm down. In any sport, there are a scarcity of people who can make it to the professional level for various reasons. Most people, I would say 90% of people, just aren't good enough. I was never going to play professional basketball. I was never going to play college basketball. Maybe if I got to like a really small school and became like a scrappy little tryhard, which was sort of my vibe, I could have made college basketball. Maybe rode the bench as like a seventh man, gotten in one day when the coach was like, "Get in there, Nick." Rode my way to a 30 for 30. Yeah, no, it wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to play professional football either. I was 175 pounds soaking wet in high school. And for those of you who don't know what the phrase soaking wet means, it means I was a skinny little bastard. So there's 10% of maybe all eligible athletes who actually have the opportunity to go pro. And for various reasons, that will shrink to probably less than 1%, largely due to financial situations, lack of interest, injury. Injury is a big one. And so then these players will go on, the less than 1% will go on to the league. And the league has 32 teams, all 32 teams of which need to, during the season, we're talking about the NFL right now. Again, basketball is different. Baseball is different. Hockey is different. In the NFL, 32 teams need 53 players. And of those 53 players, not even those 53 players, not all of them are very good either. And not all of them are making absurd amounts of money. If you hear a little ding in the background, what that ding is somebody playing music. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about men's athletes making a bundle of money at a later stage in life for a very short period of their life. And during that period, not only do they have to pay themselves, pay their houses, pay their mortgages, feed their families, everything else like that, they have to pay their agent, they have to pay their lawyer, they have to pay their publicist, they have to pay this person, they have to pay that person. Some people have some serious lifestyle creep that comes up on them when they buy massive mansions. Sometimes they have to pay for security if they're really famous and they live in a big city. And sometimes, all that money goes out the window real quick. And they earn that money over, call it 10 to 15 years of their life on average. 10 to 15 years on life, I think, is a pretty fair average because some positions are like 5 years maybe. And then quarterbacks, they go on and on and on. Like they play far longer than they should. Like Aaron Rodgers is 40 plus years old. He needs to retire. Tom Brady should have retired well before he did. But all that said, when you look at this stuff, you say to yourself, okay, well, if the men are making that much money, what's driving that? What's driving that money? Even though we're going to say, okay, there's a scarcity of athletes. So from the scarcity side, we get it. There's not as many athletes. So to retain those athletes, you have to pay them a good chunk of money. What's the other side of that? The other side of that is that owners in the NFL not only are billionaires when they start owning the team, they earn billions from owning the team. Owning an NFL team is like a annual money printing annuity. Same thing with the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey teams. Again, same thing, just to a slightly lesser extent. The amount of money these guys make is crazy. And truth be told, they wouldn't be paying players. They wouldn't be paying players this much if it wasn't a fraction of what they were making off of what the players do. Because as much as there's only so many players, there's 300 million plus and counting if we go outside the United States football fans. My hair is a mess today. Even if each of those people only spent $1, that's a lot of money. That's plenty of money. And they don't just spend $1 because when fans go to the stadiums, they spend $18 a beer, and most fans buy more than one. So you're looking at a lot of money coming in. And at the end of the day, if you run the numbers on it, the amount the players get paid in the men's league is sort of a pittance of that. Even though the raw numbers look very high. If you look at the statistics of it, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not going to make you like billionaires anymore. I have nothing against billionaires personally, but if you're somebody not inclined to like billionaires, if you look at the percentages that billionaires who own sports teams make versus what they pay their players, it's not going to help you. So I don't recommend it. It's not a good number. It's not a good statistic to look at. So what's the difference then? So why do the women's leagues have such a pay gap between the men's leagues? So a lot of women's teams are owned by the same billionaires who own the men's teams, right? Or they're owned by other billionaires. I don't know. Billionaires just they buy and sell whatever. They're involved in markets you and I aren't involved in. The key is the fact that most WNBA teams, we're just going to say WNBA because there is no equivalent women's professional football league, and there is really no equivalent women's professional hockey league yet. There is a women's professional hockey league. It's just not quite at the level of the NHL. So we'll look at basketball, which is the closest one-to-one comparison in terms of teams. The amount of money the NBA brings in is much like NFL. It is absurd. It's $18 beers is just the tip of the very expensive and very profitable iceberg. The WNBA, in large part, does not derive profit. In large part, it does make money. Money does come in, and it's getting more and more popular, especially this last year, thanks to the efforts of young women in college basketball like Angel Reese on LSU, who was just drafted the other night, and Caitlin Clark, who went number 1 overall to the Indiana Fever. That's a sentence I didn't know existed until this morning. But Caitlin Clark went number 1 overall after taking the college basketball world by storm over the last 4 years. And again, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are two singular talents who were sort of the marquee matchup in college basketball, which had faded a bit because a lot of the men's college ball had faded off due to the fact that a lot of male basketball players who are good wisely made the jump to the NBA because that's where they make their money. They don't make their money in college. The women didn't really have that option. They had to stay and get a 4-year degree because I don't know, WNBA rules are weird and I haven't looked into them deeply because quite frankly, I just learned the Indiana Fever were a team. I know the LA Sparks, but again, I couldn't tell you who played for them. I know Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark because they took the college basketball world by storm and they were entertaining as hell to watch. The reason I'm discussing this is because Caitlin Clark's rookie deal came out last night, and it is for a total of $300,000. Not a small number. The problem is it's for a total of $300,000 over 4 years. So what that averages out to is about $75,000. Now, for a young college graduate, not a bad deal. For somebody who's going to spend most of their career blowing their knees out every night while they jump up and down on a wooden basketball court, it's not great. So, number one issue. You want to improve women's basketball returns, women's professional sports returns? Buy you some season tickets. Buy you some season tickets, go to the arena, and buy you some $18 beers. Because guess what? The more money that comes in, the more money the players will get. It will not be as much as the billionaire owners, but at the end of the day, None of us are making as much money as the billionaires. They got it down. Don't know what they did, don't know how they did it, but they got it down. But anyways, biggest difference between men's and women's sports, revenue. We want to fix the problem? Buy you some season tickets to a WNBA game and go treat yourself. Go watch Caitlin Clark play. Go watch Angel Reese play. And the other fantastic players who are also in the league whose names I don't know because, again, I'm just getting up to speed on these things. You'll be entertained. Go into it with eyes wide open, and you just might find yourself a new favorite team. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.